Welcome. We are going to explore what the human mind is. Everybody knows that the mind is basically what creates your thoughts. So, to start off with, the mind is as big as the galaxies, even bigger. We can't even comprehend how big our mind is. We can think a thought, and very soon we are away, miles away, to another place. Our thoughts then come back and keep on fitting here and there depending on your needs. Now, that is a good thing and that is a bad thing. Nothing is bad in this universe, everything is perfect. But the fact is, our mind is like the galaxies. Let's take that fact that we have a huge canvas in which we can get our mind from place A to place B in a very fast way. How does it affect us as human beings? The human body is controlled by the mind. So when you are thinking thoughts which doesn't invoke a fear, um, invoke a fear response, your all your constrictions in your veins and your all other pipes in your body is either there or is not there. So if you're thinking of a thought which involves fear as one of the emotions, your veins will be constricted. This causes the heart to pump a little harder. Consequently, the end result is your heart has worked more than you have to, and it also causes your brain or your mind to be affected by more thoughts which are not consistent with well-being. So it's very important to see the correlation between the mind and the body, where your body is affected by how your mind thinks. So let's say your state of mind is a governing factor on how your body will react. Now, how can you make your state of mind uh, positive and in such a way that you don't have that fear response? You're not worried about it. You are just enjoying your existence. That's very important to understand. That goes by saying that you think positive thoughts, you think of now rather than tomorrow. Tomorrow never happened. And you don't think of the past, because when you think of the past and you think of the future, you don't have much time left for thinking of the present. And what we have to understand as human beings, and if everybody does this, it'll be a perfect place to live in the world, is that you have lived in the now, in the today, where you're not straining your mind, you're not making your thought form to go from place A to place B unnecessarily. Well, to explain this, let me quote Lao Tzu when he says, "The master does nothing but leaves nothing undone." Technically, we keep thinking of what we have to do, what not to do. In the end, we didn't have to think of those things because the final result was totally dependent on another thought form, which was concluded and everything was fine. So all those other things were unnecessary, were imaginations, and you hope you didn't react to that and cause a constriction in your veins. Um, Another thing which really does affect um, your bodily function is the element of ego. The ego is one thing which basically, what is ego? Ego is the, the that you want to live a separate existence. You want it your way. This is the way it has to be, or no. That is what ego can be defined as. So if you suppress your ego, you really can achieve the non-fear thing. But again, in this society, ego is important because you're living in a society, you're trained how to live and how to be better than other people, how to make more money, how to get a better job. This is part of the system, so you really can't be out of it. You can. You can become a hermit and just talk about uh, trying to be happy, and you keep your state of mind in a happy state by thinking of God and going away from society. But that is what you call a dharma yogi, where you get away from society and be your own person, which is not very desirable in a way. But as for the person, the practitioner, maybe it's very good for him. He has found the right way. But as we people living in the society, we have to stay in the society, uh, use ego wisely, shouldn't let that overpower you, and shouldn't be cause of resistance. Now, when I say resistance, what does it mean? Well, that is in reference to basically something which is coming to you and you are avoiding it to happen to you because you don't want it to happen. And the nature of the universe is, it is full of well-being, and we try to project our own idea of what's supposed to happen, and that's what causes misery of some kind. Okay, there is scriptures which talk about what is a human being. A human being is considered a human being because it has 24 elements which make it a human being. This 24 elements is referenced in most religious texts, from the Bible to the sutras to the Mahabharata, to most of the religious texts. They have mentioned the 24 elements. These are the five senses which we have, the cognitive senses. These are the sense of sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. And then you have five exporting senses, where we export ourselves, where we talk, we grasp, we reproduce, we excrete, we walk, we speak. And then there are five gross matter, which is the earth, wind, fire, ether, water, and air. There we go. That's already 15 of them. And then we have five object of senses. Now we can perceive something if we see something. If you don't see it, it doesn't exist. So these things which we exist, every other human being is an object of sense for you. Every bird is an object of sense for you. Every item in this world is an object of sense. If they didn't exist, you wouldn't perceive anything. Okay, these are the 20 elements, and then you have four things which are very important. One is the buddhi, your intelligence, and then you have manas, It's a small me inside you, a small inner you, the inner being as they call it. And then they have chitta, which is the repertoire of all your past experiences. In a way, it is stored as a big C drive. It may not be from this lifetime only, it could also be from a different lifetime. We come to that later. But this, let's say, is your information data bank. And then, of course, the fourth one you have is ego, your desire for separate existence. So when any action has to take place, the small me says, I want to do this. This is my desire. They ask the intelligence, can we go ahead? The intelligence says, yeah, I think that there's no problem. Go ahead. And then he says, before going ahead, just check the experiences you've had before, if they're okay. So they go to the the data bank, and they find out that everything's fine last time they did it, or there's nothing wrong in the experience, let's go for it. But the ego says, no, I don't want to do it. Or if the repertoire says, don't think it's a good idea because last time you did it, you screwed up. But the ego says, no, I want to do it. So the action is done. So that is the whole, it's like a chariot wheel. The four elements control the human mind, and they have to be in equilibrium for it to be a wheel, for you to move forward like a chariot. If one of them is out of sync, it doesn't become a chariot wheel. It doesn't even move forward. You have a little breakdown in the system. But that's one way of looking at it. It's like it's like so as a human being, you access all your thoughts, your grid of your data bank before you take an inspired action or an inspired thought to move forward, because the desire process is an ever-encompassing process. The desire process is very important, because without desire there won't be any living. Desire is very important. There is old scriptures, Hindu text, they talk about this old king who was well respected by everybody, and he was the uncle for all these people who were fighting with each other. And they asked him, Uncle, why are we fighting with each other? We are brothers, we are cousin brothers. Why are we fighting? And for this piece of land. He's the reason you are fighting for. The main reason is desire. And what is desire? Desire can be explained that you are coming on a path which you don't know where it came from. But behind you are wild animals who are chasing you, and you're running on that path. And it's going, you don't know where. It is the path which you don't know where it's going, you don't know where it came from, and you have wild animals behind you, and you are running for your life. Along the way comes a beehive, dripping with honey. You see it on the corner of your eyes, a beehive. You stop, you get off the road and taste the honey. That is desire. All those wild animals, where you came from, where you went there, had no meaning. The fact remained that you had to have that honey. But that is one example of desire. There are many. But in the conscious state, we have three states of the mind. You have the conscious state, you have the subconscious state, and you have the deep sleep state. And there's the fourth state, which is like the Turiya state, which is like uh, a period between the all the three states. It's a period, it's a waiting time. So in the conscious state, you have your grid, which is your data bank, with all conscious thought, which you can access it, and then you take action or further thought based on what you've got in your mind in that grid. And in the dream state, now you go to sleep. In the dream state, you are accessing now your subconscious also, where you have additional data where you can choose from, which you can compare with. Now, but when you do that, you're using the same elements which you used in your conscious form. That means you're using your 24 elements, what you used for your conscious form, you're using for your subconscious form also. So when you're dreaming, are you actually seeing something? Can you smell something? Can you taste something when you're dreaming? Have you tried dreaming and tasting something? I think if it's a proper dream, yes, you can. I have tasted stuff. I have smelled stuff when in a dream state. So but what I'm trying to say at this point is that using your 24 elements of being a human being, using the same ones in the dream state. So in the dream state, you're using 24 elements. In the conscious state, you're using 24 elements. So which is real? The dream or the conscious state? They are the same. Because what is actually happened becomes a figment of your thought also. That would have been a figment of a thought 2 days ago. Or now it's become a figment of thought 3 days later, or 1 day later. So having said that, what I'm saying is it's basically all your thought forms. Even your actions are thought forms for a single moment, for a single day, for a single instant. Then it becomes a thought form. So having said that, the third stage is when your mind is absolutely in zero state. You're not thinking anything. It is as if you are dead. But you're still breathing. You have involuntary muscles going up and down. Your lungs are working. Your heart is working. Everything is great. And actually your mind goes to sleep. It is the same way when it goes to sleep when you're dead. Now, this is all fine. And then there's the fourth state, which is a little more complicated to explain. But let's say this is a state where you have attained all bliss. And then you wake up in the morning, you're back to conscious state, dream state, deep sleep, again the bliss state. So this action keeps going on and on till finally you go to sleep, deep sleep, and you don't wake up. And then you're dead. And your soul and your data bank moves somehow into another body, where it starts the journey again to achieve the lack of ignorance. See, the human mind is supposed to dispel ignorance, whatever they have, in their lifetime, which is a very difficult thing to do. What is ignorance? Basically, let's come to that. Ignorance is the existence. Oh, sorry, let me come back again. What is ignorance? Let's talk about it. The non-perception of the existent is ignorance, or the perception of the non-existent. So something doesn't exist, but you perceive it as if it does, and this causes a faulty thought process going forward. So ignorance is the man's prime purpose on land, on being given this gift of life. Is the main purpose is the complete freedom of all unhappiness, or one can say the purpose of life is joy. You have to be joyful, your state of mind has to be positive all the time, your brains have not to be constricted, and you live long and prosper. Enjoy and try to dispel ignorance before you die. That is the objective. Well, very easy said and done. This is the exact what you want to do, but whether we can do it or not, it depends on many circumstances. Environment you live in, do you have the chance to do it? Do you have the luxury to think like that? Otherwise, you're stuck. And another thing, the basis of life is freedom. See, if you're free, you can do all that. But if you're not free, then you are forced to act and react based on your circumstances. Now, freedom means you could be in a small farm, you have your needs met, and you have a small society where you don't rely on the outside economic cycle. So you're quite happy. Your mind is in a free state. But if you're in a city and you got two mortgages, you got a car lien, and you got a line of credit, all these things are called financial slavery. So you're working for somebody. So you have to have that feeling of let me try to protect myself, at all times. You are not restricted to having the luxury of thinking, how can I ease my mind so my constrictions are reduced? So, having said that, we come to now the law of allowing. And in the context of what I've talked to you about the mind and how it's affecting the physiology of the human body. So how will law of allowing help us? You see, law of allowing is nothing else but a statement which says, whatever you think of, you will get. Whatever the birds of the same flock together. So whatever you think, you will get, whether you like it or not. So be careful in what you want. That is the law of allowing. Now, having said that, let's say you want a certain thing, but that thing, you have to think about it. So that's the law of deliberate creation. So that's another law where it's the law of allowing, but now you have purposely stated exactly what you want, and the universe will give it to you, because that is what the universe is designed for. You can either think it doesn't give it or it does give it. So what's wrong in thinking it does give it? It is the truth. That's one can live with that. It's the same thing as the untruth that it doesn't give. That's an untruth too. That's not proven anywhere. So, but let's take the positive angle that the universe is here to ensure your well-being. It is the well-being where you came from, and it wants you to have the well-being. So you can create whatever you want. So you create something which you say it in such a way that it goes in the huge universe, the galaxy. The statement is made, those thoughts will someday and somehow manifest into what you want. That is law of deliberate creation. So you create using the law of allowing, law of law of cut scene 2. So in this society, when you have all these thoughts which basically are caused by ego or fear or whatever emotions which are not the right kind of emotions, you need to bring back your thoughts, your mind to a zero state every now and then. Otherwise, you'll be constricted while you sleep too. You are sleeping and you're dreaming, but your mind is absolutely, your thing is tense. Your heart is working hard. Only in deep sleep time do you get a little relief. That's why sleep is important for human beings, because then they are regenerated and their mind is now ready for further thing. But now, while in your conscious and your dream state, if you can bring that state to a zero level or near zero level, you would have enhanced your existence. Your bodily functions will be better, your mind will operate better because of that. Now, meditation is one of the biggest help in that an area where you meditate in such a way that you bring your mind, thought, fleeting moments, your spacecrafts, you please park them. I don't want you to think anything. Or if you will go in the direction I want you to go, where I'm putting positive affirmations as to what I want to meditate on, or you're trying to meditate in such a way that there's nothing in your mind. That's important. Do 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after in the morning and evening. So law of attraction, in the context of all what we have spoken so far, is something which we want to, what I've been exposed to recently, and I find most of the texts talk about that in some fashion. This is a more organized way of giving it into a simpler format to people to understand and to practice, understand the basis behind it. The law of attraction is what you get, what you think. You get what you think, whether you like it or not. So it's very important to know that you're not thinking vaguely, because you're going to get it. Don't think why this didn't happen, whether it won't happen. So law of attraction is you get what you want, whether you like it or not. Now the law of deliberate creation is a little variation on the law of allowing, but now you deliberately ask for what you want, and the universe will give it to you. Why do I say that? Because that's what Abraham says. But let me tell you, if you don't ask for it, you won't get it. And if you ask for it and you don't get it, versus you ask for it and you get it, both are the same things. But why think of the second one? Think of, I want this and the universe is going to give it to me. This way, your mind is at peace. You don't have a fear response. So we would take that into our heart and say, we're going to deliberately create whatever we want, and we are going to allow that into our experience. So it's very important to understand that the law of deliberate creation is creating whatever you want. Be as specific as possible what you want and let it go in the universe. Allow buffer of time and then allow it into your experience. That is the third law, the law of allowing. Allowing is that you keep thinking about it hasn't happened yet, it hasn't happened yet. That is resistance. You have to detach yourself from the outcome and let it happen. And it will. That is the law. So, resistance being gone, you have manifested what you desire. And in the end result, right from the law of allowing to law of attraction to law of allowing, all you've done is made a thought process which is in alliance and a vibrational match consistent with good thoughts and positive thoughts, with your physiology being not affected by negative thoughts and constriction of your heart muscles. The biggest cause of all problems, stress. You have a constriction, whether you like it or not. This guy didn't drink, this guy didn't do anything, and yet he died because he was so stressed out. Heart attack. You got to. So it's a physiological thing, mental thing. So the idea is I don't know how to explain this and I'm not a doctor, but I'm telling you there is a correlation. There is a correlation, 100%. I'm telling you from my personal experience. So to conclude our talk, your leading edge of your thought is your vehicle. Your leading edge of your thought is your vehicle, or let's say it's a ship. And direction in which it moves depends on your desire. And conclusion. Your leading edge of your thought is your vehicle. Let's say it's your ship. You are in the universe, in the big universe of your mind. You thought something, and there you let go of your desire. And what happens? Yes, you allowed it into your experience, it manifested. The direction you took is your desire, in which direction you want your thought to go. Well, what happens to the unfulfilled desires? The unfulfilled desires are something which have not been manifested, is also part of reality. And that's the reason human beings actually, the one line of thought is you come back again and you're reborn again to fulfill your desires. I mean, that's a different topic altogether. I don't want to go inside that. Cut. Your leading edge of your thought is your vehicle, your ship. And the direction in which you would want it to move is your desire. And obviously, with all the laws we've spoken about, and after due allowance, you manifest those desires. So it's very important to know which direction what's your course and what's your speed. Sometimes the speed could be slow, manifestation could be delayed, but don't worry about that. But the main thing is you are going to this whole universe, letting go a direction, a desire, and before it manifests, don't change your thought form to recorrect, to go in a different direction. So what happens then is you are confusing yourself. You're creating more uh, annoyance. You're creating something which is not necessary, which is causing your bodily function to constrict again, right? And it's not necessary. But the idea is wisely create and diligently allow it into your experience. So thank you very much for joining me in this first video. I've tried my best to be as articulate as possible. That was my biggest weakness, but now I think I'm getting a little confidence and I can speak a little better. And talking about my ship days, I must tell you, I've seen many mental projections, and I see that that's helped me understand what thoughts are about. For example, I would be in the middle of the sea, and it's around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. I would ask the quartermaster to go inside, and I would stand outside and keep a lookout right in the middle of the sea. 1,000 miles, no land, no ship around, and there I'm looking at the stars, and I feel I'm part of the universe. I could do astral projection. I used to reach home. I used to actually be 10,000 miles away and look at what's happening. Of course, they wouldn't know I was there, but I could see everything what's happening there. And I'll come back again, back to the ship, by desire. I found it's a very spiritual experience, really, if you ask me, because right in the middle of the ocean, where you are the only, other than the quartermaster inside, you're the only one awake person and who's connected to the universe, and there's nothing else matters. So that is how I conclude my little chat, and I hope to see my other series. I have a few more on specific topics, and thank you very much and have a good day.